Hey y'all, welcome. It's sick of this pod or sick of this show. I'm sorry, I got so many things going on. Vet talk today with retired Commander Bobby Jones from the Navy. Um, he's one of our fellow brethren. He is also a host on Valor Media Network. Um, he does co-hosting occasionally with Ken Harbaugh on the Midas Touch. He also reports on I guess it's now the Lincoln Square Media.
Yep.
Changed the name, I guess,
Right. It's part
which
of
is
Lincoln
awesome.
Project.
Part of the Lincoln Project, and we wanted to welcome him on to get his opinion on some things that are going on right now on the vet world, and how it impacts us, but also how it impacts everybody else, because veterans are the most diverse segment of the American populace, and we're just a little tiny piece that really represents the whole. And so I wanted to invite Bobby Jones on to talk with us. And so thank you for coming on today. Um, and wanted to give you a chance to introduce yourself. I'm going to drop your
No,
links in the chat while you're doing it.
no,
So
I
don't
appreciate
mind
it.
me in the background.
No, thanks, Nick. Thanks, you guys for having me. So, I, you know, I'm, I recently retired out of the military in 2023, and it's kind of weird to even still say that. I'm president of Veterans for Responsible Leadership. We got almost 10,000 members, and we're a super PAC, and we try to find veteran candidates to run for office. And what we try to do is to find people who exude exactly what we had to do in the military: integrity, honor, living what you're actually saying, right? Um, and the reason this it was started by my classmate, my Naval Academy classmate, Dan Barkoff, a former SEAL, Navy SEAL, and now trauma room surgeon. He just looked around as someone who grew up in Massachusetts in the Maine area. He was a classic conservative growing up, and he saw when President Trump came on the scene, he could not believe what he was seeing.
Right.
Right, and there are a lot of people who are in that grouping where they were classic conservative, even Bush conservatives. I'm in Georgia, so I mean I'm surrounded by it, and they're like, "What the hell has happened in the last decade?" Well, as we started seeing the effects of what's now being, just called MAGA, you know, originally the United States military was shielded pretty well. And then by definition, the veterans community. So Mattis, when he was sec def, when Trump came in, did a good job of trying to stonewall that. And then, Milley did the same thing. But what we're seeing right now, and this is kind of the crux of why I'm glad y'all brought me on, the policies and the
Yeah.
indoctrination that is taking place in America is more amplified when dealing with the Department of Defense, the active duty guys, and you better believe the veteran community.
Yeah.
The veteran community is being disproportionately hurt by these policies. Make no
Mhm.
mistake. I don't care what Collins, the VA secretary, who's also from Georgia, all the BS that he's throwing out there. There's no way you can look at this and objectively say that veterans are better off now than they were 6 and 7 months ago. Complete and utter nonsense. Complete and
Mhm.
utter nonsense. The
Exactly.
the the executive order that just came out, limiting, they like to frame it as the abortion ban for VA. No, that's women's health care.
Yep.
Okay, and as someone who was married to a vet whose wife served, gave birth and was on deployment like 5 months later, you know what they're doing to women, their historic place in the military, and what they're doing and what they have accomplished now is ridiculous. Um, all of this is under this warped mindset that Trump and his boy Hegseth have, that the American military is something straight out of a 1950s John Wayne movie. He
Yeah.
believes that bullshit,
He
right?
talks like it.
Yes,
Yeah. Or I text
and
like it.
right. Well, that too, and we can get to that. But what's interesting to me is when you hear him talk. Some of the guys still on active duty. I got tons of friends still on active duty. They call him Sec Bro because he's got a real bro mentality. Well, he'll go do the push ups and sit ups and all that stuff with the Granger
Oh,
Regiment and all this nonsense.
yeah.
And he uses lethality, and the standard. The dude has a damn makeup freaking mirror set in the damn SecDef office now because of the TV background, you know. And to be honest, he has fired every woman that's at the 3-star or 4-star level. Just wiped
Yep.
them out. Now,
Yep.
mind you, I'm on a rant with this because the chief of naval operations he fired, Admiral Franchetti, Lisa Franchetti, I know personally. Okay, got to know her way back when I was a lieutenant and she was a commander. And what blows my mind about this is no other CNO has had to fire more missiles, more ordnance in their time in the seat since World War II than her. Because if you remember all these stories, the Red Sea, all these Houthis are shooting missiles at destroyers and
Yeah.
stuff, all of them got knocked down. All of them got knocked down. And we were doing strike missions. So what does that tell you? That tells you that the Navy was fully manned, trained, and equipped to do the damn missions. If that's the standard that HEXF says, then why the hell is she still not the damn CNO? Right?
Because
Mhm.
it doesn't fit the
Does
optics. That's what it
exactly the
is.
point.
It doesn't fit the
Exactly the point.
optics.
It's
But
it's
I'm sorry to
interesting
cut
too.
sorry to cut you off, sir.
Yeah,
no,
You
no,
know,
go
sorry.
ahead, no, go ahead, no, go ahead, no, go ahead. No,
no,
It's
but that's I remember when that happened, and that infuriated me because my sister is a West Point graduate, right? And you've got all these women that are now in these roles that are doing the damn job, but like you said, it doesn't fit this John Wayne bro. Like, let me look at me and do push-ups. It's like,
yep,
you know what crippled the Russian military advance in Ukraine was decades of corruption where they weren't doing basic maintenance that got signed off. When we have when the joke is that if it's military grade, it breaks down faster. You have Humvees and you don't have enough mechanics in the motor pool to fix them. That's what, and it's when it's
there it is.
you're not going to shoot
or you
down
have
missiles from a Houthi because you can do 70 push-ups.
yeah,
Okay.
That
or you have jets falling off of naval carriers into the ocean, into the fucking ocean.
twice. I mean,
Twice. Two,
it's
two.
unbelievable.
Like the if I had put a quarter, a nickel on the idea, like betting that a naval carrier would drop a fucking fighter jet into the ocean, I would now have 10 cents, and that's 10 cents too fucking much. Like,
I
what?
100% agree.
our our
100% agree.
our Navy, which I was being a former U.S. Marine, I was part of that department.
Mm-hmm.
I would have never freaking. I mean, you're talking about a naval tradition who kept the U.S. If you guys, the USS Cole, that kept
Yep.
it afloat, right? And they're
Yep.
losing planes in the ocean.
Yep.
Come on,
It's
man.
it's it's mind-boggling to me what is now the standard. Going back to what you said, my fellow devil dog here, you hit it. The Russian advance stopped because they had dried out, rotted out tires on their
Yeah,
goddamn mechs. They had
Mhm.
all these things happening because they could not maintain a force. They lived off a projected reputation. I remember when Ted Cruz, that paradigm of masculinity, when he tweeted out a video of the Russians, and the black and white stuff, and they were muscular and they were doing push-ups, sit-ups, and then he put it next to a video of a specialist, an army specialist that had two moms. He's like, "Who do you think is going to win the next war?" And that was right before this thing kicked off. Well, Ted, since you come back from Cancun or wherever the hell you go when Texas is in trouble, let's take a look at the results. Oh, they're
Oh,
getting their ass handed to them. You had Operation Spiderweb over there, which is one of the most tactically brilliant things we've seen
brilliant,
since World War II,
brilliant.
right? But and guess what? There were women involved in that. Let me tell you something. I saw in the first week of that war that happened with Ukraine. I don't know if anybody remembers. You had a female member of their parliament that was an Olympic biathlon member who, that means they ski and shoot, sitting there with a yellow and blue scarf, tied it on her head, and got on a rooftop and became a sniper and was killing Russians.
Yep.
Straight up killing them. And I'm sitting there like, that is the coldest thing I have ever seen. And then you want to talk about this. One of the most successful snipers in history is a freaking Soviet
Russian.
freaking
Mhm.
female Russian. And I'm literally saying to myself, does he not understand that the original, quote, DEI organization of America is its military? When the
Yeah.
American Revolution kicked off, they had to take everybody and anybody who wanted to be a piece of this. Not because they were doing the right thing. They had no goddamn choice. Washington didn't want blacks in the what you call it at first. He had no choice. Washington didn't want women on the front lines dragging dudes away and treating them. He had no choice. There was no one else.
It was necessity. It was a force of necessity.
Florence Nightingale is a thing because the Army literally didn't even plan for this because they didn't think it was going to be as bloody as it was. And there was Florence Nightingale in the American Civil War that said, "Oh, all right, I need to do this," and got the money, the trained nurses, everything, the logistics, and was that's why they called her the angel. That's why there's Florence Nightingale syndrome is a thing because this was the woman that coordinated pulling troops out of the battlefield. Right?
Yep.
Like basically caring for them, because that infrastructure didn't exist.
No,
the Army didn't plan for that.
They built the plane as they flew it, and the architects were women. This is why my mind races when I see every time he gets on camera. And he goes out of his way to erase the history they tried to erase when they first came in, just wiping out websites. Tuskegee Airmen, Waves, Wax, all these people, the freaking 442nd Combat Regiment of Japanese Americans, who, by the way, as a unit, is the most combat effective unit in American military history. The guys that you interned in a camp.
The NISA.
You know what I'm saying? These jokers had over 900 Purple Hearts and 21 damn medals of honor.
Denied their Congressional Medal of Honors until Bill Clinton restored them.
They're scrubbing websites.
Denied Congressional Medal of Honors until Bill Clinton restored them.
What I don't understand, what I didn't understand initially, but I get now, why did he pick Hegseth? Now, granted, Hegseth lobbied for that job for years on Fox News' B team on the weekend. I get it. But here's the thing. Trump looks at Hegseth as the person that he could have been when because, he dodged a draft. Hegseth and him have the exact same backgrounds, though, right? They got into elite schools because of mommy and daddy. Hegseth goes and serves. He turns down the West Point appointment because he didn't want that full immersion. It goes to Princeton. Both of them married 3 times. Both of them cheated on their women all the time. Both of them accused of sexual assault. All of these things line up. And he thinks that Hegseth is a younger version of him. He's the son that he wished Junior and freaking Eric were, which is why he tolerates all this. I'm dead serious.
It makes total sense.
I'm tracking, bro. I'm tracking what you put down.
And so we deal with the ripple effect of that is he's now trying to forge the military into something that is more Soviet Union-like than it is American. The Soviets had this thing called the Zampala, where if you watch the movie for Hunt for Red October, they have political officers that
commissars
units. Yes, those commissars, right? Mm-hmm. Here's the thing. He goes and he neuters, he fires the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, a black guy, cuts out all the women at the upper chain of command. And here's the 2 things that he's done that no one's talking about en masse, but I'm following. He sits there and he brings in his personal lawyer, who was my roommate on USS Normandy, Tim Palator, brings him in, brings him back to active duty. They gut the JAG Corps. They fire all 3 heads of the JAG Corps, the Army, Navy, and Air Force JAGs, gone. And they bring in Schuler, the guy that went off about what happened in Afghanistan, the Marine Corps Lieutenant Colonel, which, don't get me wrong, I agree with, not your place to say. They bring him back. He's part of a council that will screen the next generation of flag officers. So they're doing this where if you want to get your first star, you got to pass through this group that's nowhere entitled to not any of these titles, and they're screening. And then the last piece, Trump is now personally interviewing 4-star candidates. Yep. Okay, so if you have your 3rd or 2nd star and you want a 4th, you got to go to the White House, and he's got to test your loyalty to him. That is 100% unprecedented. That is 100% Stalin-like. And if this continues, the ripple effect of this will be the American military will cease to exist as we know it. It will be more of a backup to the Gestapo, aka ICE right now. And this is systemic. This is what they want. They're not about a democratic a society, and they sure as hell are not about a military that pulls from that society. They want an enforcement arm to do what they want. And it is counter to the oath that every damn last one of us took, because nowhere in the Constitution do they say that these things should be happening. All right, now I'm off my rant, but that's
No,
what's happening.
No, that was a good rant.
Oh,
Thank
that
you for
was.
having that rant.
I'll give you
Shit.
this too, backing up about whether I give a damn. Like, as a former Marine reservist and infantryman, whether I give a shit about what color a person is or what gender they are or whether they're trans or whatever. Because this is what I would have. So I'm gonna get deployed. I gotta go get my gear. I want my gear to work. So supply needs to be on point with issuing me my gear. I want my rifle to shoot where I'm aiming. So that means the armor has got to be on point. The ammo's got to be effective. It's got to work, right? And if my ass is put in a hot zone and I'm getting shot at and and things are getting hairy, I want to get on the horn and call the Navy and make sure those bombs, those naval guns or whatever they're going to throw are going to be accurate and kill the enemy.
Yep.
If I have to call in an FPF, a final protective fire, well, that's where you send everything, right? Like everything's going down range. I don't care who's in the seat. I want a woman like Tammy Duckworth, who's a senator, who flew into hell to pull soldiers out of harm's way, and who lost limbs.
I just talked to Walter Ryan. He's a author and writer that we've spoken to a couple times just a little bit ago. And one of the things that he put out there was that he put out in a note was that if you exclude women from hiring, you cannot hire the best. You can never hire the best.
Never.
Because you never include the full scope of competition, which makes everybody better. Everybody's better because we're all included in that conversation.
It's something where this is the cruel irony and comedy to me about this whole situation with Hegseth and Trump talking about anti-DEI, blah, blah. They are the ultimate version of the DEI that they talk about. Yep. These jokers have all failed up. I have never seen, let me tell you something. I'm a black guy that was born and raised in Metro Atlanta, Georgia, right? If my black ass would have assaulted people sexually, if I had been bankrupt 6 times, if I had bankrupt 5 casinos, if I had done any of this stuff, if I had been anywhere near Jeffrey Epstein, there's no way that I would be president of the United States. Period. Nope. Hell, I wouldn't be the manager of a 7-Eleven.
There's no way you would have finished out your naval career. No, it's done.
No, they would have kicked you down to fucking whatever the lowest Navy rank. I forget what you guys.
Look. I graduated dead last in my Naval Academy class, so they almost did it anyway, and I was a good guy. I was just trying to make it. So here's the thing, and it's kind of funny. I see Lisa. She asked a question, and I'm really want to dig into this too. You know, we as veterans, right? We know better. We know better. Whether you deployed 8, 9, 10, 12 times, or whether you just did your one hitch and you got out, you have been put in areas and situations with people from all backgrounds. And you had to judge and deal with them as the individual person. This mindset that this guy looks a certain way, square jaw, blue eyed, this guy, that's enough, is bullshit. Because I had a senior chief say this to me one time. He goes, everybody's talking tough, but he goes, when those digital bullets you see on screen become analog in real life, we're going to see who's about that life. Period. You need to find people like that. Lisa asked the question, and it's kind of in the vein of what we're talking about. What do I think of when I see flags that are flown upside down in protest? I have gone back and forth on this. And so I've come up with this thing. It's two things. If you're a civilian, you want to do that, that's fine. But as a veteran, I personally think you should not do that. And here's why. Because you have worn the nation's cloth. You will be buried in that cloth. You have the right to wear that flag properly, even if you don't agree with it, because you earned it. You paid for it, right? And when people see veterans protesting, which is starting to happen in much larger numbers here, okay, the No Kings protest had a ton of events. I was out there.
I was out
When
there. There was
yeah,
all out there.
yeah, well, look, when people see veterans sitting there saying this is some bullshit, people pause. They pause, they pause, they pause because they know at some point in your life you were willing to die for this thing called America, regardless of what your political position. So you listen. Now, the thing about it is, when I see flags and I see people doing the protesting and stuff, that is one piece. But my concern has now moved into this other side with the administration that we kind of talked about before we got on air. We have a problem with homeless vets,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Vets transitioning out of the service and
Mhm.
them being abandoned. The executive order that Trump signed about homelessness, I don't know if you guys in chat land have seen this. This man is like, hey, get all your homeless off the street, just sweep them away. Just sweep them away.
Yep.
A disproportionate number of those people are vets, number one. Number two, you have shrunk all these veteran affairs health benefits. Women, the whole thing about the abortion thing that just came out,
Yep.
completely unsat. That's unsat, right? But
Yep.
on top of that, the reduction of people, we are already seeing that there are about 6 or 7 that I know of VA clinics that will be closing based on the bill that just passed, based on the fact that Medicaid is going to be reduced. There is this cumulative effect that's going to happen to the American population, but it will disproportionately affect veterans the most. The most, okay? It's not something that I'm proud of to sit there and say that the commander in chief is signing off on that. He's got freaking Secretary Collins, another Georgia boy, dancing and saying everything's going to be great. Biden accounted for 60,000 additional VA employees because they saw the backlog. Because think about it like this, people.
Yep.
We just fought the longest war in American history.
A generational war.
A generational war. I commissioned in May of 2001, 109 days after President Bush came out of Plum and 9/11 happened. I retired in 2023. Matter of fact, I was in the Middle East during the Afghanistan evacuation in 2021 as a commanding officer of a task force. My entire career was the global war on terrorism. Do you not think that that huge number of people who have served are not going to need services? Okay, not going to need this. And here's the thing, too, because I talked to some of my classmates about this. No one's they've talked about plans for years to do something for the GWAT Veterans of Memorial in DC. I haven't heard shit about it. I've heard about this damn ballroom that's being added to the White House, but I ain't heard about any recognition of the longest war in American history being fought and the veterans that served in it. So
I don't.
instead,
Don't
I'm just
worry.
saying instead, what we're getting.
No. Don't worry. What he'll do is he'll put the memorial in the ballroom with his picture on it, where he's, like,
Yep.
and it'll be President Trump won the GY is what he'll put. He'll take credit for that too.
Or he'll
He'll
put
take
the
credit for
plaque
that
in
too.
he'll put the plaque in the bathroom next to the one that they still haven't put up for the officers on January 6th.
Next to the
Mike
classified,
Johnson
all the
is just fucking
classified
just leaving.
documents.
Yeah.
They'll put it next to the
In the
classified
bathroom. Yeah,
documents.
All the
Yeah.
boxes of fucking documents.
It is absolutely horrendous to watch what is happening. And here's the thing, I get this all the time. Well, you veterans, 60%, you guys voted for them, blah, 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 blah. I go, I've had to break this down for people a lot. I go, 2 things that you need to take into account. For the longest time, the GOP had always branded themselves as the one that cares about the military, right?
Yep.
Now, and I can say this as someone, Bush, all these guys, I actually do think previous presidents, regardless of their affiliation politically, cared about military and vets. I really do.
Yeah.
Now, they had different philosophies on how to do it, but never in my life did I ever think that the guy in the White House didn't care about us as service members until now.
Yeah.
Until now. Okay. That's number one. Number 2, if you took a poll today, you're going to get a lot different number. Because if you have not tracked on social media and stuff like that, you guys, they go into the VA facilities, all of a sudden the wait times are going back up. They cut off the suicide hotline without realizing it because they were like, this costs money. But no, it costs money.
Yeah.
Of course it does.
Like, what are we doing? So, all of these things that are happening, right? They show me what you value out of your military. You want the military to have a certain aesthetic. You want the military to do exactly what you want. And that means even turning our weapons against American citizens on American soil.
Yep.
And it means, hey, once you're done serving, hey, I know you may have trouble transitioning out. Just get out of our sight. We don't want to see you. The whole thing about the Army parade, he didn't want to see any disabled vets in that parade. Didn't want to see anybody like a Tammy Duckworth, who had lost limbs, because he hates that.
It'll make him sad. It'll make everyone sad.
Yeah, it's so weak. But instead, it's the tiny tank with the squeaky wheels.
Right. And for the life of me, I don't understand how people around him don't call him out on it. It's funny. His sons, same age as us.
Yep.
They could have served. They
didn't.
They didn't.
Bo Biden served. served.
Yes.
Yeah.
And this is the thing that's blowing my mind about all of this. You cannot sit there and say that you're a great commander in chief without being able to lead by example. He's so jealous of people who have done what he wishes he could do. That's why he hated Milley. He hated Milley because Milley's like, I'm an educated warrior. I know what the Constitution says. I'm not going to order the military to go into D.C. and shoot protesters. Are you kidding me? And then he's like, can you shoot him in the leg? And Milley looked at him like, is this man? He thought he was in the Twilight Zone.
And so I want to point out real quick for all the non-veterans in the audience, because I got to be honest with you, Bobby. You kind of triggered me a little bit. When a commanding officer says unsat, it's just it's like that's the worst thing you could ever hear from your commanding officer. It's like you can hear you're a piece of shit. You can hear all it's roll off your back. But if he looks at you and he says you're unfreaking sat, it's unsatisfactory. That's short for unsatisfactory. You're not meeting the standard. It is the worst thing you could hear.
I got that said to me a lot. I was in the Army and we didn't say unsat.
We heard it.
We in the naval service.
Oh, in the Navy and the Marines, and it's unfreaking sat Marine.
Our favorite phrase was, "It would behoove you."
Oh yeah,
this. Yeah. That's the E9. You got to be E9 to say behoove.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right?
You got to have.
That's the key. It's just it would behoove you to do this, and you're like, "Yep, I'm fucking on that." Or if you had that sham shield,
a little bit of salt on your shoulder for the behoove thing.
You can hear you're gonna unfuck yourself. Or you're gonna that's fine. But when you hear unsat, it's like, hey Marine, that's unsat. You're like, oh man, I really messed up.
Yeah, no, I mean seriously. But
shoot,
I can't come up with another term to describe
but that's what it is.
What we're seeing.
So here's a question. Here's a question for you, because Golden Mean asked a really good question in the chat. And I partially know the answer to this because officers take an oath, from my understanding, to stay apolitical, because it's part of our tradition as the military across the board. My dad is a retired colonel. Like I learned from an early age that even though my dad had political views, they were personal. He didn't espouse them. He didn't talk about them. And yet now we're seeing that. So one of the question in the chat was actually, where is Milley? My question is it time for retired officers such as yourself or generals or admirals of any sort or the most senior to come out and start being a little political, because they have unpoliticized the military? And I want to, So
no, I think these are very valid points. So let's give you some history real quick. Enlisted officers, we take two different oaths. When you enlist, that oath says to obey the orders of the President of the United States and the officers appointed above me. All right. But as an officer, the clause about the president is removed. It just says, I will faithfully execute the duties of the officer, which I'm about to go into. Nothing about the president. Because from day one, the officers were supposed to be the fail-safe against a tyrannical commander-in-chief. That's number one. Okay. Number two, when Washington surrendered his sword at the end of the Revolution in Annapolis, right? And they still have all that stuff up there because the state house and stuff is there, and went back to Mount Vernon. He did that on purpose, not knowing that he was going to be president, but to separate the military from the political process. This was by design. Again, from day one. What we're seeing is Trump is trying to pull those things together and say, for you to be in the military, you have to be politically aligned with me, which has never before happened. Now, to get to what you guys were asking about as far as where are the retired, generals and admirals, you have to understand for generations, you were taught that as officers, even as retired, you don't really espouse your political views. That has changed in the last 50 years where, you'll see someone run for office, this, that, and the other. But especially as someone who's an admiral's aide, especially when you're an admiral or general, you go out of your way not to influence anything with your commentary on what's happening currently because people will respect your opinion, right? So when you look at someone like a James Stradridis who's on TV, he writes books. These guys are very careful historically not to. But Admiral Stradridis has started to change. The awakening is happening.
Okay.
And you're going to see more, in my humble opinion, you're going to see more retired flag officers verbally come out and say something because they realize the danger. And it's not even from just the social aspect of the United States and what we say we want. It's from the alliances that we spent 80 years after World War II building. It's from the actual state of operation to keep America secure. The things that they are doing is making America less safe. Full stop. Full stop. The fact that NATO does not know if they can rely on us. The fact that we have abdicated leadership of NATO to France. Let that marinate for a second. France is now calling the shots in NATO.
Historically,
we said we don't
retreating, always retreating.
Hey,
France.
stop that. Stop that.
French. I'm French. I get to say that.
Listen.
I'm half French. I get to say that. We retreated a lot, except for Napoleon. Fucking.
Oh yeah, no. We're the country that did the Berlin airlift. Okay, like that was us. All right, we're supposed to lead the way on NATO, and we've gotten rid of that.
Shaved our asses.
Yeah, because you have a pedophile in, let's call it what it is, as a commander in chief in the White House that wants to, bend over for Putin, right? And doesn't want to and hold the line with the brave men and women in Ukraine who are upholding Western civilization, democracy right now.
Have you guys noticed his interaction with Russia? So, last night,
yes,
broke overnight saying, hey, Putin and him are going to meet. All right. Then here about an hour ago, it came out saying, hey, well, before Trump and Putin meet, Putin needs to meet with Zelensky so they have something really to talk about. Now, what's interesting to me about this is when this happened about a couple of months ago, where there's supposed to be a huge summit when Trump is in Europe, Putin didn't show up because Putin's like, I don't owe you anything. I own you. Okay. He did not show. It was, I have never heard of an American president being snubbed by the leader of Russia/Soviet Union like that before in history. Ever. Okay. So now he's trying to act like he's tough, like he's the man publicly, when we all know that Putin is pulling his strings. When you look at this, and here's my evidence. Hegseth shut down the counteroffensive cyber aspect of going after Russia. Yep. Why would you do that? Who told you to do that? And by the way, Russia, as far as cyber attacks here in the last 5 years, have ramped it up. So we're just not going to shoot back. Cool. Now, when Zelensky comes to see you, you berate him like he's a child. When that man, right now, he is the closest thing to a goddamn war god that we have right now in the world.
Yep.
Because look, Zelensky was a comedian. He was the Jon Stewart of Ukraine. And he did a show where he acted like he was president and they actually elected him. He had no idea that Russia was going to do what they did. But you know what? You know how history picks people that you never expect to be leaders? They just happen to be there. Zelensky is this generation's version of it. He could have ran. He said, I'm not going anywhere. His wife said, me and the kids are staying. When that happened, I was like, this dude's about that life.
He said when the U.S. offered to get him out and have a government in exile, he said, I don't need a ride. I need bullets. I need ammunition.
Bingo. And those of us that have dealt with Ukraine's military and stuff like that, this is not a shock. The brainstem of the Soviet Union's military was the Ukrainians.
Yep.
They were the ones that had the innovation. They were the ones that had the warrior mindset because of their history. And it's almost like Putin, being the former intelligence agent, forgot this. Those jokers, look. If I was a member of Congress and I saw the interview that happened about a month after the invasion, and they interviewed this old lady, and they asked her, how's it been going? You survived these guys invading. And they told the story. She said, I gave one of the young Russian soldiers some sunflower seeds, and I told him to put them in his pocket. And they go, why would you do that? She goes, so when he is shot and killed by one of us, that at least his body will nurture new life. This lady was like 80. And she's making Molotov cocktails.
I love it.
I said, holy shit. I had never heard of something like that before.
Going back to your point about like men and women have served, when in the opening of the Ukrainian war, Snake Island, it was a listing post, right? And you got the Russian Navy on the Black Sea, and they're basically getting ready to bomb it. And they said, surrender. You had men and women in that listing post, like 5-man team, men and women. And they're like, and they got a recording of it. You can go look it up. Yep. It's like, hey, what should we tell them? It's like, we're going to surrender? Nah. They tell them to go fuck themselves. And they got bombed.
Yep.
That was the open. Yep. And that right there is the Ukrainian spirit. You are not going to break. You can kill them, but you are not going to break these people.
It's what we as Americans say that we are.
Yes.
Doing.
Yes.
That's the thing. That is the thing. And if I'm a member of Congress and I heard that recording, because I remember when that happened, it was chilling to me. Like,
oh yeah.
My wife had to calm me down. I was like, I'm going to go join their Foreign Legion. I can't have this. I'm just retired. I'm like, I can't have this. She was like, no. But here's my thing. Congress, I would have played that recording for every member of Congress. Like, if you don't give them everything they need, and it's those older members of Congress that have been there forever, McConnell and Schumer and stuff. You were there in the 90s. You know what this is about. Why are we even having a debate? They would have a blank check with me. I would have the American military industrial complex, which needs to be rebuilt anyway, starting to rebuild it now and be their arsenal for them. But Trump does never want to do it, because the first time he met Zelensky, he realized he's a man that I can never be.
No.
And his pettiness would not allow him to help him. This is what's blowing my mind. Americans, we have taken for granted what we have had, what previous generations have done to get it. And now we're the kid in the schoolyard that's, real big and tough and talk smack, but we are all fat. We have no muscle. We have no muscle memory. We have no mindset of what it means to be in a struggle. And we think just by walking around and casting a large shadow that that's going to be enough. And we're led by a guy who has always been about bravado, and that's it. And what's happening is the world is quickly figuring it out. And you see the one country that has been quiet, the one country that Trump talks this noise and backs up quicker than with Russia, China. They're watching everything. And they're sitting there looking at the West. They're looking at the United States. They've been looking at Russia, and they're just taking notes. They didn't say anything when we bombed Iran with the bombers, the B-2 bombers. They didn't say anything when we sat there and started doing the trade tariffs. When he came after China with the tariffs, China's like, we will match it, and we are willing to endure whatever it takes. I was like, you do not want to mess with this country in this sphere right now. No, and yet here we are still dealing with it.
I'll tell you what about China. So my school, I went to ETSU, East Tennessee State University.
Yep.
My graduate coordinator, Dr. Nkavich, he's a China expert and a Russian expert, right? So that's how I got educated on Ukraine, is that was sort of like my sub-study when I was in grad school. So he had partnered with a lot of Chinese universities for a long time. So we had a sizable, for our regional university, Chinese population. And this is like Obama, we're talking 2012, 2013. Yep. Something was going on with China at the time where the US was like we weren't getting along for something. It was something. I can't remember what exactly it was. So we had about 100 exchange students from China on campus. Mm-hmm. The moment the US was wagging their finger at China, the next day, protest by China, anti-US protest. all the Chinese students were out protesting
Wow.
on our campus quad. It was just all of a sudden, it was like you might see if one or two of them here or there, going to class, da 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 da.
Yep.
Unless you were like me and you were like in the international, because like we were like he took trips over there, and I would help him kind of like organize that and everything else, and and so you meet a few of them here and there, right? Or we'd have a guest speaker come to class from China who's a visiting professor, and so but all of a sudden it's like here's like 120 just like that
out of nowhere.
And that taught me, I was like, oh, and I mean, you're talking like, you think we're nationalistic? No.
This is the point.
No.
Here's the point. And here's the thing too, right? Let me ask y'all a question. Let's say something went sideways, and next week we're on the precipice of World War III.
Yeah.
Do you think the current chain of command, that includes the President of the United States, Vice President of the United States over here, the Secretary of Defense, the Undersecretary of the Defense, some of the Chief of Staff, I don't even know if they filled that position because no one wants to work for XF. Do you have confidence in their ability to lead the United States and our allies in the next great conflict? It's a very simple question.
No.
Okay.
Very simple answer. No.
This is what's interesting to me because everybody keeps looking at this thing in a political lens, right?
Yep.
But when you look at this thing called the Constitution of the United States, Article 2, it tells you exactly what the president's supposed to do. And the first goddamn thing is he's supposed to secure the country. The commander-in-chief role is the primary role, right? He turned this election into the economy and this and that, which I get America. But y'all got to understand, the goal of the president is to be able to unify the country to protect it. When the Constitution was written, they were still wondering if this experiment was going to work, and they knew they had to protect the country. And less than 30 years after they started signing off, they're at war again, okay? Understand, his primary job, I do not believe he could execute in any shape, form, fashion. I see someone say he'll just push the red buttons. Well, allegedly he has a red button in the White House that he pushes it and they bring a Diet Coke. I don't know if
he might push that. He probably push that one first.
That'd be all right.
He might push that one first.
And it's funny, Morgan. You're sitting there. I'm looking at some of these chat comments. Morgan, you're saying it's going to get bad before midterms. I 100% agree. And there's a reason for this, y'all. It's going to get worse before midterms because they realize there's a ticking clock. The finish line is midterms. They expect to lose the House, which is why they're trying to do that crap in Texas with the re-gerrymandering, right? But they expect to lose the House. Trump is hoping, though, that he can possibly keep the majority because I tell you right now, I think the Democrats, along with some Republicans who are waking up from this fever dream, I think they will try to impeach him in the second half of it.
Or at least have these committees and run investigations and just bury him with that. And I mean, you were at a high level in the Navy. You understand. Mm-hmm. I mean, the logistics in the Navy are insane. They're mind-boggling, right?
Yep.
And here's more than just and warfare is more than just pulling a trigger, push the button, lobbing rounds down range. It's about logistics. Logistics wins wars. It always has. All throughout history, logistics wins wars. And so look at what they're doing with the ice raids to our food supply, our trade partners, our allies. If we went to war tomorrow, right? Mm-hmm. And chances are we'd be on the wrong side of the World War III, but let's not get into that. Let's just say for some, like, we go to war and we're on a war footing. Do you think that this administration could feed the populace and feed the war fighters? Do you think they could ramp up? Do you think they could outfit all the equipment that's necessary to go on a war footing, potentially on multiple fronts?
Do you think they could modernize the safety?
Do they have the personnel because they fired these women and these people who are competent to actually run something on that scale? Because the man he fired from the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, let's make no mistake, they prepare for that scenario. That's all they do. They prepare for, hey, what happens if we get in a war with Canada? What happens if we have to fight a war in Europe and then we have to invade China? What happens if there's a war in Australia where we have to establish a beachhead in northern Australia? The amount of things that these people are ready to do where they know which fleet to move and how to do this and how to do that. You don't get that from sitting in a makeup chair and doing freaking push-ups. It doesn't
So
happen.
not only are you 100% right, this is the final point that I'll make on all of this. When I was getting ready to go to my command tour, and I was in charge of a Riverine squadron, we deployed to 5 different time zones at the same time around the world, guarding stuff so the USS Cole incident doesn't happen again. Straits of Hormuz, freaking Guam, you name it, we go, right? Panama Canal. When you go through the pipeline for commanding officer school in the Navy, they get other future COs with you from all the communities. So in my group, my year group, I had a commanding officer of Dev Group, the prospective commanding officer of the Navy SEAL team that everybody hears these legends about, right? And and we were talking about leaderships and strategies and all this kind of stuff. And he sat back and listened the entire time. I'll never forget this as long as I live. I'm sitting right next to him. And at the very end of class, he's like, I don't understand a lot of you guys. And I was kind of look at him. Now, mind you, to get selected for command, you have to do pretty goddamn well. Now, so these are not chumps that he's talking to. He goes, y'all are overcomplicating things. He goes, in my world, I think of 3 things: people, programs, processes. Whether it's a squad or we're talking about the entire national security. If you think about those 3 things, if they are aligned, you can execute and do whatever. And so I've never forgot that. And so when I look at what Trump's people, he has fired career people that have institutional knowledge, both in the Department of Defense, the CDC, all these various aspects of the government. He told them, he doged them, bye, get out, go to the private sector. What he has is a self-inflicted brain drain. That's the number one thing that I will talk about. People, when you look at programs, the programs that he is gutting financially and with that brain drain, from FEMA to DOD parts of aspects to all of these domestic things that support the home front to make sure it's robust and can handle things that are out of the ordinary, like war. He's gutted financially and with those same people I just mentioned. And then processes. He tries to run and rule things by executive order, or he just ignores the judiciary branch when they say, hey, you can't do this. He's like, fine, I'm going to do it anyway. He's Andrew Jacksoning a lot of stuff. So he has no process. And on top of all this, there's no national security strategy. There's supposed to be one coming out. Hadn't seen it. So we don't even know what his priorities are as a president of the United States, commander-in-chief, head of the United States. These things together tell me that not only can we not do the functional day-to-day stuff right, but heaven help us if a crisis like a pandemic 2.0 or World War III, like if China invades Taiwan right now.
We wouldn't do anything.
What happens? Now, mind you, Taiwan is critical to the West and to the United States because of what they produce, the semiconductors, all of this stuff. What do? If Putin goes into Moldova while we're focused on Ukraine, because that's the next nation over, because he wants more living space like Hitler did. What do? We have no contingencies to deal with this. And on top of that, we do not have the sense of normalcy and confidence in our own ability, because we showed people who spent their entire professional lives worrying about these things. We showed them the door. And that should terrify everybody in America.
Thinking about Putin a little bit, because you brought him up quite a bit, and I know Trump is Putin's little puppet, and we can all see it. So I have my thought on Putin is we're actually not thinking of him large enough of what he really wants. Most people talk about Putin wanting to reestablish the USSR, but realistically, I think Putin actually wants to reestablish the Russian Empire and be a czar again, because he's about, and he's had his people specifically go, where in history has Russia owned land and had land rights that are no longer its during the height of the Russian Empire, not the USSR, but the Russian Empire. That includes Alaska. So here's my question, because this is something that I think realistically could happen. And as a senior DoD official or chairman of the Joint Chiefs, you would think about this as Russia invading Alaska.
Mm.
What happens, do you think, if the US has an invasion of some sort like that in one of our non-continental, like
Yeah.
contiguous states, such as Alaska or Hawaii? What do you think might happen or be in
I think
response?
I don't think they'd invade him. I think he'd just sell it back to him. You know, he'd say
In
I think
crypto,
he would. I
but
think he'd
in
say
crypto only.
there's too much debt. You know, the Democrats ran it up, so we'll just sell them back Alaska because, you know, Putin has a good point about
But it,
making that, you know.
but it
I
has to be in Trump coin, and it's only going to be
I
worth
think
20 cents.
I think if that scenario happened, we'd go to war with Russia because the American population would not tolerate it. Would not tolerate it. And because you got to remember something here. In the entire history of our country, what territory have we gained that was forcibly taken back? So you're going to be the first
Yeah.
president in history to lose American territory. And we ain't talking territory, we're talking about a state. People forget that. Part of the reason Alaska and Hawaii were not states for the longest time, they were territories, was because of their extreme locations. And people like, that's a buffer between Russia. That gives us a place in the Pacific. Do we really want to? But here's the thing: Pearl Harbor changed that for Hawaii, and the Aleutian Islands changed it for Alaska, where they're like, these people died. They're now citizens. They're now American states. That's what changed. People kind of forget that.
Oh
Here's
yeah.
my thing. I honestly think that we would fight, but here's where things would get complicated. Would NATO join us? See, people need to understand how NATO operates. We have these articles, right? Article 4 talks about if there's an internal dispute between the alliances, how they're supposed to figure it out. But Article 5 is the collective self-defense clause, where if one nation in NATO is attacked, all the nations of NATO feel like they're attacked and they all fight. It's been activated one time in its existence, and that was right after 9/11. So all this trash that Trump has talked about, NATO not footing the bill, the United States is the only country that activated that defense clause, and all the other countries rolled to war with us, and they died. They died. And all they've heard from Trump since he's come back into the White House is, this is ridiculous. This is too expensive. Y'all need to give him money. He doesn't understand what I call blood equity,
Yep.
right? Blood
Yep.
equity. And so now what you're dealing with is, if we are attacked, whether it's Alaska, Hawaii, Guam, I don't care. The question I have is, will NATO roll with us because of how we have treated them since he's come back into the White House? We fired our military liaison to NATO, who, because she was a she, despite her being a Harvard graduate, MIT graduate, despite her being president of the Naval War College and as a warrior thinker,
Yep.
we fired her and she was liked. We have gone out of our way to piss off supposedly our closest allies. And that's all fine and good when everything's going your way. But the second the Taiwan Strait is crossed, the second the Bering Strait is crossed near Alaska, what do we do then? What do we do?
And do we
And
fracture
and the
internally
problem
if
is
that happens?
go ahead.
Do we fracture internally if that happens? Because you said the American populace, not the president, not our commander in chief, not our SecDef, but the American populace would demand war, would
Yes,
demand response. Do you think, though, because there's a lot of Russian indoctrination in the US right now, there's a lot of it on the MAGA side. Do you think that MAGA would support Russia and that effort because they've been indoctrinated into thinking Putin is the good guy?
Right. So I'm glad you asked that, because I've thought about this long and hard too. I think there would be the extreme element, about probably 20%, that'd be like, hey man, they sold it to us, just have them pay us back or whatever, blah, blah, blah. But what I honestly think is, I think the average American would be like, oh, hell no. And they would pressure Congress to do something. Now, understand the way the Constitution is written, Article 1 is Congress. They're supposed to be the big dog. That is what they made that. They're supposed to be the big dog. And they would feel the unbelievable pressure to either make the president do what he's supposed to do, which is, by the way, it shouldn't be a debate because his constitutional obligation is to defend Alaska in that situation.
Yes.
And the second he does it, impeachment articles should be drawn, Senate trial should be the next day, and his butt should be booted, in my opinion. Right?
Oh yeah.
And the
Yeah.
American public would put that pressure on. Now, here's the question that I would have. Going back to Hegseth, because he's my favorite chew toy.
Mhm.
If that scenario happened, don't get me wrong, we have what we call operational plans for damn near every scenario you can think of. We just dust them off and we update them. The question I would have for Hegseth is, would you be proactive in telling the president we have to defend Alaska, or would you back down and kowtow and be like, whatever you want to do, boss, whatever
That's
you
what he
want to
do. That's what he
do?
do.
He'd back
Would you
down.
resign
That's
and
what he do.
protest?
No, he would just back down and wait.
Oh,
I
he'd
think
punk out. He would punk out. He would punk out.
So
There's no doubt in my mind.
So you'd have to live the rest of your life. You'd have to be history's freaking patsy and sit there and say, hey, I just did what I was told. The same thing that the Nazis said at Nuremberg, right? See, this is the thing when we talk about integrity in leadership. This is why it matters. This is
Yup.
why it matters. You know,
Yes.
they tried to get Milley to resign early because it was obvious he was not going to do what Trump wanted. He's like, no, you have to fire me. He fired how many Secretary of Defenses the first tour? You have people who stood on business and have been fired,
Yep.
right? And the more you replace those people who've been fired with lackeys, with these type of lackeys,
Yep.
you lose the professional competence. And then, of course, you're doing all the work for Putin. You're doing all the work for Xi. They're like, cool, these people it is. Like Kash Patel being in charge of the FBI is ridiculous.
is a threat.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Freaking Tulsi Gabbard being the head of national intelligence.
Oh my God.
Oh my God,
Oh.
that scares me.
So when you guys, when you ask the question, if this thing popped off and we were in a real crisis, what do you think would happen? We are sitting fat ducks waiting for slaughter because we have people who are incompetent in these positions. The Trump administration looks at these positions as political execution aspects. They do not look at it from the actual reason the job exists in the federal government. And what is scary to me is the governors of our states, the 50 states. Yeah, you got the Republicans, blah, 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 but the governors are slowly starting to figure this out. Have you noticed any type of national disaster now, FEMA, because it's been neutered, they're talking to one another directly.
Yep.
Because Trump is like, yeah, the governors can figure it out. Governor's like, fine, we can figure it out because we actually have to lead at the state level. But what blows my mind about this is he wants all of the freaking regalia of being in charge of the federal government, but does nothing the federal government's supposed to do. You cut NOAA, which is like the hurricane stuff. You cut freaking FEMA. You cut every institution that is supposed to be able to handle federal level crisis. Every last one of them have had a cut of some sort. And now states are having to make up for this. Well, guess what? The governor of Georgia will not be able to withstand a Russian invasion.
No.
The governor of Alaska will not be able to withstand Putin coming over the Bering Strait and like, we're taking it back now. Will these things happen? Probably not. But I guarantee you something else will here in the next 3 years of this guy's term, where we're all going to be like, oh my God, and look who we have in charge.
Yeah.
It's going to happen.
Yeah.
Historically speaking, every president has that one crisis where they are not the subject matter expert. They, through no fault of their own, may or may not be prepared to deal with it because it's unprecedented. And you have to think on the fly. And here's the thing. I don't have any sympathy for him because as junior officers, as senior NCOs, you know what I'm saying? We have to do it.
Yeah, all the time.
Do you think the Army first lieutenant that was walking around Afghanistan, you know, with these teams having to deal with tribal leaders and stuff like that, he didn't work for the State Department, but he had to be a goddamn ambassador. He wasn't a damn medical school graduate, but he had to be emergency triage when the time was right. I got no sympathy for these people. You wanted the position. And if you're not prepared to do it, then move the hell out the way and let those professionals that you fired back into the forefront.
Even when I was in operations management for American Airlines, right? And I'm running, they used to have a place called Right Start, right? Theory being is like planes that go out on time before 9 a.m. tend to come back. You have less likely delays later in the day. If you start wrong, you're going to end the day at wrong, right?
Yep.
I'd have 30 to 40 flights. You're talking, I'm at Philadelphia International Airport, 16 crews. upwards of maybe 120 employees running at the same time. You're talking delays every minute is 10,000, like $11,000. They got some metric.
Yep.
If one of my flights took a 1 minute delay before 9 o'clock, I had to go up the C-suite to what was called the third floor. Every single executive, the vice president of operations, everybody was there. And we're talking 30 people in the room, the heads of every department.
Nope.
And they're looking at me going, so operations manager Frederick, why did flight 412 to Boston take a 3-minute delay at 8:51 this morning?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I have to answer that. I've had more
Yeah.
responsibility in my aviation career than these
That
freaking people, you know.
But they use that word accountability with you, though. That's a
Yes.
4-letter word in this administration.
I was accountable for that. And it's like the flight crew's late, the catering's late, you know, the fueler's late, this, that. It's like, I was on the other end of the field handling this. You better get some answers.
That, I mean, that and $5 get you a damn latte at Starbucks. Who cares?
Right.
Because your name is the one on it. And this is what has just infuriated me to no
They
end.
hired me to do that job. That was what I was hired to do.
We hired Trump to do that job. Even if we didn't vote for him, we fucking hired him to do the job. So
he is supposed to report to us.
Yeah.
Yes.
And instead, he expects the American people, business, whatever, whoever, to report to him. That is ass backwards.
Yeah.
Ass backwards. And if you don't want the burden of leadership,
don't be a leader.
Don't do it.
Office.
It's you know, anytime I had a hard day, you know, it's like I was getting my ass kicked. It's like I had this one duty manager, he'd pull up and he'd say this to me. And I hated it, but I started to use it myself. He'd say, what's going on? I'm like, man, you know, I'm da da da. He says, yeah. He goes, I want to tell you something. I was like, what's that? You chose to do this. You could have done anything else.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You could have done anything else, but you chose to do this.
Yep.
So suck it up. You know?
Look, man, to leave it, so because I know we run a long time. First, I just want to say thank you guys for having me.
Dude,
but
I loved it.
Most importantly, I still have faith in America. I believe we have good people. But I'll tell this to anybody. Leadership matters. You know, I heard when I was a young ensign in the Navy, everybody wants to do leadership, be a leader until it's time to do leadership shit. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And the reality of what we're dealing with is we are suffering from a crisis of leadership at various levels. When you look at Congress, lack of leadership. When you look at the president, lack of leadership. When you look at the Secretary of Defense, all around us, we're dealing with a lack of leadership in the American society. And what's going to happen is, because the world looks to us as the leader, de facto is spreading. We're seeing things fall apart. We're seeing leaders of other countries having to scramble to figure out how things are going to work. And we have no one to blame but ourselves. So we have to fix it.
Exactly.
I think the thing that kills me, man, is it's like at my highest level in aviation, because I did more in aviation than I did in the military. I was a department head at LAX. I was over 700 employees. I was over 32 teams, you know, crew chiefs, over 250 flights a day. Like department heads, you name it, man.
Yep.
I was the ramp ops guy. I was the head of ramp operations for American Eagle. I wanted, my whole entire mission was not only leadership development, but making sure the guys who were doing the job had what they needed and they could do it in a safe manner. And I used to preach this is like, your job as the leader is to verify and support. That's really it. Because at a certain level, you can't do the job that all these guys can do. And what frustrates me is like, how the hell are you not backing up the people that are putting their lives on the line? Like not only in the military, but in the federal government that are supporting. I don't. And honestly, man, like that is the thing that will always baffle me with these people is like, why the hell are these people in charge? Why did we let this happen? Because the people that gave their career in the federal service, both my parents were federal employees. My dad was in the National Weather Service. My mom not only worked for Naval Intelligence and FICPAC, but she worked for the VA. She worked for the Department of Forestry Service. Both of them retired. My sister was Presidential Management Fellowship. She was in Signal. She was a West Pointer. I'm the odd duck. I only did one stint, one stint as a reservist in the Marine Corps, and then I went in private. I went in aviation. But
Right.
how the hell do you not get in this job and get that first intelligence briefing? And and you say, holy shit, how do you look
I don't get it. I don't get it
service
either.
people in the eye and say,
I don't get it.
and not back them up? I'm gonna go build a ballroom. It infuriates me. I mean, it just infuriates me.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go build a ballroom. There's
No.
veterans like homeless.
$200
There's
million.
we have
Yep.
service personnel that don't have their needs met.
No.
You know, right now, like I don't like that's the thing. It's one of those things. Like I get it from an abstract level. I go, well, it's this and this, but on an emotional level, I don't get it. Like you're fundamentally broken, and you need to get the hell out of there. You
And
know,
I think to wrap a bow on it and bring it back to something you said, Bobby, was about integrity and ethics again, back
Yep.
into what we're doing. And so we've been throwing around this slogan a little bit called RISE, which is restoring integrity, service, and ethics. And
I
I
like that. Let me
think
write that down.
I'll send you we even got a picture for it and everything. We're getting it out there because it's like you said, the two of the key ingredients of serving a community and being someone who is part of the service, which is the government. Government is a service. It is our service. It is also the military is a service. Education is a service. Medical is a service because you're serving other people. Police are supposed to be service, things like that. If you get into a service, you have to have integrity and you have to
Yep.
have ethics. And that's pretty much it. And if you don't have those, nobody trusts you. Nobody trusts or believes in you. And I think we're at a point where we've lost that. And we need to reestablish that as veterans to put ourselves out there and to break that stigma of veterans are MAGA because we're not.
even
Veterans are constitutionalists and Americans who care about each other and
Yep.
what happens to this damn country. I swore an oath to support and defend the Constitution above all else.
Yep.
That's it.
And that's what I'll do.
Even in aviation, man, they told us this. They said, you can screw up, planes can get damaged, things can happen. But if you lie and you try to cover it up, that's your career. Because
Yep.
they can't trust you anymore. They can't trust you to be. How are they going to trust you with the operation? How are they going to trust you with all this stuff if you can't be honest about your failures and where things? And it's just, and that's what I tell the guys is like, listen. And I saw guys get banged out that had 20 years, crew chiefs. Something would happen. They'd hit a plane, blah, blah, blah. And you have them on tape. And it's like, bro, you can't lie on a company investigation. Just be honest. You'll take a hit. And they wouldn't do it. And they would say, they'd lie. And it's like, they're showing the door. 20 plus year career. One instance, they lie, gone. Instead of just saying, hey man, you didn't follow safety procedures. You screwed up. Just say that. Don't lie on a company investigation. That's the world we come from. And then the people that want to lead us,
Right.
that's how they act.
Right.
Come on.
Right.
Come on, man.
Trust me. Man. Man,
So-
I literally keeps me up at night now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Literally.
So, Bobby, to close it out, because I know we've gone long, even longer than we expected. But thank you for giving us this time today. We
Yeah,
really
man.
hope to have you back again.
By
'Cause
all means, let me know.
this was amazing.
Yeah.
I want to make sure everybody knows where to find you. So please, if you could, let everybody
Yeah.
know where they can
I'm
find you
on-
today and close it out
I'm on
for us.
Substack. Yeah, I'm on Substack at Nabshad, Nabshad. And I'm glad to see more veterans, being vocal. Like I tell people, it says something about you as an individual that at one point in your life you decided to put on what I call the nation's cloth and said, I'll go. And because we live in a society now that's becoming more and more about the individual. And what has made America great has been our ability to come together and achieve a hell of a lot more. right? And so while we have leadership that has literally done its best to divide us, just divide, 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 I believe it won't work because I believe in the American DNA. When you buy into this thing called America, you
Yep.
believe in achieving something greater than yourself. I turned down
There it
50
is.
something colleges and playing football to go to the Naval Academy because I wanted to do something more than just being about myself. My brother's an Air Force Academy grad. That's all we know, dude. That's all we know. And there are people who have the same mindset, but right now they feel like they're alone. And damn
Mhm.
it, vets, we lead from the front. We always have. That's why we are the vets. We need to go help those people find their voice, stand on business, and be like, this country is great because of all of us, not because of some of us, not because of these people over here or these people are better. Bullshit. Every goddamn last one of us have contributed to this tapestry called America since the first days. And I'll be
Oh
damned
yeah.
if I let anybody come in here and tell me, my kids, your kids, that, hey, you don't have as much value as somebody else because this person says something or this, that, and the
No.
other. Damn it. Do the American thing. Get off your ass and stand up and be like, no, this is wrong. This is wrong. The stuff that we're seeing, Gestapo in the street and us telling every ally that went to war with us, you ain't shit anymore. This is wrong. That's not leadership.
Hey,
Exactly.
they only have themselves to blame because y'all made me stand up and take the Pledge of Allegiance. You told me we're all created equal. You told me that my entire
Mhm.
life. I believe it. So you
So
made me this way. Go fuck yourself. That's what I'm doing. You
so
know.
Yep.
what we're gonna so like we always do, we're gonna close it out because Bobby, damn, that was fucking inspiring. Is let's stop being sick of this shit and let's start going doing this shit, guys.
That's
So
Damn
it.
right.
we'll see y'all again soon. Thank you everyone for
Loved it.
coming. Bobby, thank
Thank
you
you
for
guys.
joining us.
Hit me up
Fred, thanks
anytime.
for coming with me. Appreciate it. And talk again
No
soon,
problem.
y'all.
Mm-hmm. Bye bye.
Bye bye.